The big headline for me, I made less, but by design, right? I found out what my minimum was. I found out what enough meant. And I'm happier with the business that I'm running. Bigger isn't always better.
Welcome to the Creative Bodega, a podcast about content marketing, Instagram growth, and personal branding for female service-based solopreneurs who want to grow their business without letting it take over their lives. I'm your host, Em Connors, and each week I'll share actionable tips, expert advice, and unfiltered truths to help you create engaging content, connect authentically with your audience, and turn followers into loyal customers, all without the burnout. If you're ready to simplify your content creation, navigate the ever-changing trends, and build a business that works for you while staying sane in this crazy season of life, then you're in the right place.
Hello, friend. Welcome back to the Creative Bodega podcast. This is my final episode of 2025 and my 48th podcast of the year, which is wild. I have not missed a week. And if you know me, that's not really strange because I show up on social media consistently. I write my newsletter consistently every Tuesday, and I release a podcast consistently every Monday. Why and how do I do that? With systems. It's not drive or motivation. It's literally finding something that works for me and not really giving up until I find that. So I'm a systems girl, and I love repeating processes, to be really honest. That's not what this is about, though. I digress. I can honestly say, though, that starting this podcast is one of the things that I am the most proud of in 2025. I just checked last week. I'll have to check again. But last week, according to Listener Notes, which is a website that ranks podcasts, I was in the 1.5% top podcast for marketing, which is literally insane. It's something I am insanely proud of. And yeah, it just feels good because I also absolutely love doing it. So I really can't wait to see what's in store for the podcast in 2026. If I had to guess, it'd probably be working in some more guest speakers. I have my first guest speaker coming out. I got to check the schedule. It might be the next podcast the following week, the first week of January. But I'm really excited about that. I think it went really, really well, and I need to explore that a bit more. But anyways, today I'm doing a recap, a year-end recap. And I think this is really important for business owners to do. You know, what are the numbers? What are the numbers compared to the year before? What numbers are we looking at? And I'm talking about a decision I made that really changed my life and my business, and that is choosing enough on purpose. I'm going to walk you through what I made this year, what I didn't do, what I want you to look at in your own audit, and what I'm planning to focus on in 2026. Spoiler, it probably has to do with owning my audience even more, aka Instagram, you don't own your audience. So I also put my favorite year-end recap carousel template in the show notes. So make sure you check those out. You can also head to my website, thecreativebodega.com/blog/48 to grab that. So it's just literally like my top 3 or 4 year-end recap carousel template links from Canva. And it's just fun to let people know, here are the numbers. Here's what I did. Here's what I'm looking forward to. Here's what I'm going to do next year. Like, people always tend to really like this post because we're nosy. Hi, we're all really nosy. So you can post it with your own wins and all that good stuff. So quick story, because I love a good story. August 2024, last year, I was very close to burnout, honestly, and working with a therapist who was also like a business mentor. And she said something to me that or she challenged me to do something that honestly stopped me in my tracks because it was something I had never even thought of. Because she basically said, what do you actually need to make, Em? Like, how much money do you actually need to make for your family? Because if you know, and you followed along with my story, I am the main earner for my family, and it's not a position I love being in, and it really puts a lot of stress on me, and it just freaks me out. It's not something I ever wanted, but here I am, right? And it's just what kind of made sense for our family at the time, and maybe hopefully that'll change one day, but here we are, right? But I was chasing an invisible number. I was launching and launching and launching and like feeling like I was never making enough. But I didn't know what I needed to make, you guys. It sounded so simple, but I was on this hamster wheel, launching, planning, filling, repeating with this invisible revenue target that just kept moving, right? And my therapist had been gently pushing me for weeks to stop chasing the horizon and define what enough was. So I went to my husband and I said, because he does all the, financials, what do I need? Where am I and what I've made and what do I actually need to make? And we had a real honest conversation because, every month we were meeting and he's like, and what are you projected to make? And what are you launching next? And I'm like, well, it made, even though he wasn't forcing me to launch stuff, he's just such a numbers guy and forecasting is important to him. So he knows where we are. But all I heard was, what are you doing to make money? What are you doing to make money? What are you launching? And I was like, this needs to stop. Like this whole once a month meeting where you're pressuring me to tell me what, tell you what I'm projected to make and what my plan is like, it's freaking me out. And it's making me actually hate what I'm doing. And he was like, he felt horrible. He actually was like, no, 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 no. That's not why I'm asking you. It's just, I would like to know so I can plan ahead. And I'm like, I know that, but this isn't going to work. Right. And so we sat down and we came up with a number for our family of what made sense. And seeing that number and knowing what I was already making took so much pressure off me. I'm like, okay, like we're good. Like I don't have to launch something next month because I didn't want to, right? I was feeling just so tapped out and like tired of launching. And so I'm not sharing what that exact number is on the pod because it's, private for our family, but I cannot tell you how much that changed my nervous system. That one exercise shifted my whole 2025, and it gave me the permission to choose the business I want to live inside, not the one that just looks impressive from the outside, right? And I think we get so wrapped up in the numbers and we see people flashing these numbers around and you're like, oh my God, how is she making that much? What's going on? Like, oh, I'm not making enough. Like, honestly, I think one thing that I've gotten wrapped up in is like more every year, bigger every year, right? Or every month even. And that's just not what I need. I don't need to make more every year. Like, and that's when it's like choosing enough, defining enough and choosing enough. I don't have to go above that. If I do, fine, great. But this is what we need. Anything above that is extra, goes into savings, great. We're good. Right? So I didn't end up launching that last fall because of that. Like there were moments this year when I simply didn't have the launch in me. You know what I mean? Because it's a big deal. Launching takes a lot of energy for me. And I didn't. And I want to launch because I love what I do and because I love teaching, not because I have some arbitrary number to hit. Bigger is not always better. Better is better. And sometimes better looks like fewer plates spinning, deeper delivery, and more margin, right? So 2025 by the numbers, I am going to share what I made. I went back and forth with my husband on this. Like, do I, don't I, do I have to? I don't feel like I owe it to anyone to share what I've made. It's completely private and mine. But when I have seen creators that I respect and love share the numbers behind the scenes, I'm all ears and I'm really intrigued. You know what I mean? So let me start by saying I do have 3 people that I employ. So I employ my virtual assistant / community manager, Nicole. She has a certain number of hours a week. I employ Steph, who is my brand strategist, and Steph and Nicole will help me on live programs. And that's super helpful for me. Like they're co-coaches in live programs, right? And then I have Scott, who's my podcast editing guru. So that's 3 people, right? So I'm not completely alone. I do have help. And it didn't start out that way, right? I started with a VA, then I added on the brand strategist, then I added on the community manager when I started community, and last but not least was my podcast editor. So they do things that I don't want to do or slash help me stay accountable to what I've committed to. So before I tell you what I made in this whole year, I just want you to remember I do pay contractors. And I would say it probably comes out to be about $15,000 a year that I pay my contractors total. Then you need to take out taxes. You guys, I just got a letter in the mail of what my estimated taxes are for 2026, I think it was. And it was $75,000. So I'm not even going to get into that. My husband was like, please don't talk about taxes because, like, I don't want people coming to me. I'm not a tax advice person, but I always say how good he is with all that. So I'm going to give you a number, right? It's going to sound impressive for little old me in my fourth bedroom of my house, but a lot is taken out for both contractors and taxes. So I made $320,000 in 2025, and that's just about 3% less than I made last year. And that's perfectly fine. Like we're good. My husband makes money too. So not as much, but he's with him and me, we're good. And we save, right? And we're saving for college and we have retirement, we have our IRAs and he's so responsible with all the money, right? So let me tell you, like, where that money came from. So my offers, so I've got my membership, right? And the membership brought in actually second place. It came in second place after live courses. So my membership brought in about $147,000 this year. And I've loved every minute of it. I love my membership so much. I love the women in it. I love the camaraderie. I love the support. I love running challenges. I love seeing people reach their goals. I would never go back on this. So that is the core in addition to live courses. So live courses was $152,000. So this year I ran 3 live courses. The visual edit in January, which is my signature program, coming up, by the way, get on the wait list. I ran then Start and Grow Your Email List live in like May. And then I ran the messaging edit, which was so amazing in September, October. And so those are my 3 live launches, live programs. Why? I love live teaching. I legit love it. And I also know that there's so much accountability and movement and progress that comes with a retainer like that. So it's my jam. There's a placeholder in my husband's little chart he gave me with all these numbers because he had to put this all together for me. I did no one-on-ones. So I didn't do a single one-on-one. And that is something I'm getting more and more requests for. So I'm considering working them into my offer suite in 2026. You can stay tuned for that. But the next highest line item is actually affiliate money. So I am an affiliate for Canva, Flowdesk, Later.com, and I think that's it. I've really pared back. I used to be one for a lot of other places, but I've just been like, I really just want to focus on, honestly, Canva and Flowdesk. So $13,000 came from affiliate money and or money I've made as a Canva verified expert. So that was my next one. And then the last place, lowest money-making area were instant access or digital products. So I barely speak about these. I'm not going to lie. I really barely talk about them in my feed. I barely talk about them in my email. And this was all very intentional this year. I really wanted to focus on my membership. I want that to be the option for people. And so I stopped kind of talking about all my instant access. And at one point, the number of instant access things I was offering overwhelmed me. I didn't know what to talk about when. It just felt like all too much. So I decided to really focus my energy and my marketing on my membership. And so my instant access courses brought in $9,000 this year. So those are my numbers. So again, instant access, super low, and I didn't talk about it. So you guys, back in 2023, and I have all the numbers in front of me. My husband got these together. Instant access, I made $127,000 because instant access digital products were so big back in 2023. And then, as we all know, in 2024, there was a massive shift. 2024, I made $25,000. This year, I essentially stopped talking about them because I just wanted to focus on my membership and live programs. It just shows you, you got to keep up with kind of what's happening and what's going on. And I saw a massive shift and I jumped on it, right? The membership model made a lot more sense to me. And instead of constantly kind of pushing other one-off products, like I wanted people to get results. And I really truly feel in my heart of hearts that that's a membership situation. So let's see here. My membership churn. So quick definition, churn's the percentage of members who cancel in a certain period. So the lower the churn, the healthier the community is. It has leveled out around 9% for me, which tells me that my membership experience is consistent, right? That was a lot higher last year. And I'm really proud to have gotten that down. I'd like to get it down more. Consistently below 10% month over month is for sure a goal for 2025 for me. My email list, so this is just like, I'm just kind of going through the bigger numbers. My email list, I've gained 5,000 subscribers this year, which I'm very happy about. My email performance is phenomenal. I have a 53% average open rate. They say that the average is 20 to 30% for industry. 99.4% deliverability. So for all the Flow Desk haters out there who say it's poor delivery, I call bullshit on that. 99.4, and it was the same last year. 2.7% click rate, I will take it. 1 to 2% average, and then 0.4% unsubscribe, which is amazing. And this is why I pound the whole like own your own audience drum like it's no one's business. This is where my sales happen, in the emails, right? So Instagram, I gained 20,000 followers this year, which is great, but it's an ego number, to be really honest. I care so much more about about sales, about my email list growing and my open rate and all that good stuff. And again, for the podcast, I've published, this is my 48th episode. I haven't missed a week since I started in March, and I am in the 1.5% top marketing podcasts in the world, which is just freaking awesome. It's awesome. And I have nothing to compare that to because it's my first year. So I can't wait to see what that looks like. And my listens, is that how you say it? It just keeps going up and up and up. And I love it. I love it. And the more I keep getting more DMs where people, instead of they're like, I found you from a reel, they literally say, I found your podcast. And I'm like, I freaking love that. I love it. So the big headline for me, I made less, but by design, right? I found out what my minimum was. I found out what enough meant. And I'm happier with the business that I'm running. I don't have to make multiple $100,000s. Like, hey, if I could do that and have my nervous system be intact and not employ 30 people, great. But I don't want to employ people beyond what I already am. And I want to keep loving what I'm doing. So we're good, right? So bigger isn't always better. And here's what I want you to audit. I want you to grab a piece of paper, open up your notes app, or pause if you need to as I get going here. Here are the exact questions and the numbers I really want you to look at for your own year-end review. And the goal isn't perfection, right? It's just kind of like gaining some awareness around your honest answers, right? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Or gaining some awareness around numbers that maybe you're not tracking yet that you probably should. So first thing is capacity and energy. What did you resent doing this year? And what brought you the most joy? I want to know those two things. When you do your best work, so really thinking about the time of day, the days of the week, are there particular seasons? I'm really big on this, like being energy led, right? And I think it just helps you work smarter, not harder, right? The next area is offers and revenue mix. So what percentage of your revenue came from each offer? So for me, 1.5% came from my instant access or digital products. 51% came from my membership. 52.7% came from my live courses. The other thing that my husband didn't include in here, and I bet you with my Black Friday sale and my commissions from my affiliate sales, I probably get over 300K this year. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to keep you posted on that one. See, this is the competitive part in me where I'm sitting here like, oh, like what's enough? And then I'm like, I can get to 300K. Oh, make me stop. Okay. Okay. Which offer created the most stress per dollar and which created the least, right? So really thinking about what offer created the most stress and what created the least. And then if I had to cut one offer for the next 90 days, what would be the positive chain reaction? Or how would that feel? So that's always, again, like finding your minimum. If it's bringing you the most stress and making you the least money, we're going to cut back on that. We're going to think about that, right? Okay, the next category, owned audience health. This is big. What was your email list growth this year? So total net new subscribers. Mine was 5,000, okay? Email performance. I want you looking at that average open rate, click rate, unsubscribe rate, and deliverability rate. These are huge. They're so easy to find. In Flowdesk, you just click on analytics at the top, okay? List sources. So where does your new subscribers actually come from? I'm really bad about this, and I need to create new forms in Flowdesk for each of these places, meaning, which I actually did. I did this a couple months ago. I just haven't actually looked at it. So we're going to do that, darn it. So did my email subscribers subscribe through my website, through social media, through my link in bio, or through my podcast? Those are the three places. So really looking at, where the subscribers came from. And do I have at least one evergreen lead magnet that generally matches really well what I sell? So that's something to ask yourself. Does your freebie relate back to your offer really well? And that's really important. Okay, next is community stickiness. So churn rate, if you have a membership, what's that looking like? What is your unsubscribe rate looking like? So what is the churn? Unsubscribes and unfollows, we want more follows than unfollows. Unless something, drastic happened, like you completely changed what you're talking about, then you can't, beat yourself up for an unfollow if you're changing up what you're discussing, right? So is it trending flat down? One reason people stayed this year and maybe one reason people left. Ask yourself that honestly. And what member-only moment did I deliver or could I deliver quarterly that makes staying a no-brainer if you have a community? Or even if we're talking about your community on Instagram, right? And then last but not least, enough and boundaries. So my private enough number kept me sane this year. And you can keep it to yourself. Is it monthly? Is it annual? Because my husband was honestly looking at my numbers month over month. And so I had really low months when I wasn't launching. And I'm like, you can't put this pressure on me to make this number every month. That's not how my business works, right? And we have money in savings for this very reason that we can dip into. So lay off. And again, my God, this all it took was one very honest, raw conversation between the two of us. And we're such good communicators that it's been so much better, / non-existent. The pressure just isn't even there. He doesn't even ask me anymore. I'm like, thank you. And then if income already met enough, what would I stop doing? Can you take off that launch or what do you want to do with your time instead? So one boundary for 2026. I want you to think of one boundary for 2026. Example, not being on social media on the weekends, capping your membership at a certain number or capping a live program or cohort at a certain number. So I do that every single time. I literally am like 30 women, 40 women. I don't take more than that because I want it to be a great experience for them and for me. Okay. How many launches are you going to have max? How many times do you want to launch? This year, in the beginning of the year, I said 2. And then May came around and I felt a little energy and I was excited to launch, start and grow your email list. So I said, F it, let's do it. And I did it. And it was awesome. I loved it. And then, definitely maybe a boundary is, this buffer in between launches or anything like that. So set one boundary for 2026 you can really stick with. If you want an easy way to share your takeaways publicly, I would love for you to grab the year-end recap carousel templates in the show notes. This is something I do every year. I share my numbers in a carousel, and then I say, hey, comment a template to grab these templates. And they're my top Canva carousel recap templates that I think it's really fun because it forces you to grab the numbers, right? And it forces you to be specific instead of vague. So what I'm focusing on in 2026, just owning my audience even more, which means growing my list. I'm not going to lie, and continuing with my podcast. If anything, I'm backing off social a little bit or not putting as much eggs in social's basket. I'll say that. And my podcast and my newsletter is where I'm going to be focusing probably more of my energy, right? It doesn't mean I'm not showing up. I'm absolutely showing up. Instagram is one of the first places people find me, but I'm doing everything in my power to get them onto my email list or get them to start listening to my podcast to really grow that know, like, and trust factor even more. Okay, if 2025 felt like a lot, please hear me. You're allowed to choose enough, you guys, enough clients, enough launches, enough revenue to support what you need to in your real life. You can build a business that fits you now and then change it later when your season changes, right? And that's not giving up. That's leading. It's essentially finding your minimum. And if that's what allows your nervous system to feel safe, then more power to you, okay? If you want more behind the scenes numbers and the how details, make sure you're on my newsletter. That's where I share things that don't make it to Instagram, and I'm proud of you. It's been a great year. It's been a wild year. It's been a different year, I would say, socially, politically, but maybe it's the one we needed. And here's to choosing better over bigger and to owning more of what actually moves the needle in 2026. I will talk to y'all soon. Happy New Year.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me on the Creative Bodega podcast. If you love this episode, please be sure to share it with a fellow solopreneur who could use a little content creation inspiration. And hey, don't forget to check out the show notes for any resources I mentioned on the episode to help you create content that feels easy and actually gets you results. If you want even more Canva and content tips, head over to my website, thecreativebodega.com, or find me on Instagram under the same name. Until next time, keep creating, keep showing up, and most importantly, try and have a little fun with your content. I'll see you on the next episode.